The devil on your shoulder. And I bet most of you know what I mean by that. There's so often that doubt, and it creeps into your mind, and you don't often know where it comes from. And I've tried to make it into a pictorial thing. So when I have that doubt, I'm actually quite grateful for it, because it gets me to think sideways and gets me to think of other ways of doing things, lateral thinking. So it's an incredibly useful thing until it starts chirping in your ear or in your brain at exactly the wrong time. And that can be as you're warming up. That can be as you're at the start. Why am I doing this? I'm not good enough. Why am I doing this? My horse isn't fit enough. Why am I doing this? This isn't fun. And the whole point of all this incredible amount of money and time and energy we spend with our horse is to have fun. And suddenly it isn't fun. The devil on your shoulder is a useful person, but he has to have sometimes a gag rein on him, because he can really interfere with your mindset and state of confidence. At the same time, looking at it positively, he is a very useful helper in the analysis of why something didn't work as you'd expected it to work. But timing is everything, isn't it? And he has to know when to shut up, and he doesn't always. So having that self-control is a dreadfully difficult word, because if we could have it, we would have it. But sometimes our nerves take us over. But I feel having that picture, and there's all sorts of emojis of a devil, isn't there, on your phones, purple with black eyes and things and horns. But just have whatever you think of as the devil. I think mine's in a black cloak. So probably got horns. I don't really know. But you just have in your mind the devil, and it's not a good thing. So when I feel those doubts coming into my mind, I imagine this black horny thing is sitting on my shoulder with his little horn saying, you shouldn't be here. Your horse isn't fit enough. You're not fit enough. You haven't done enough classes at the level below to be ready to do this. All these things that he's done. And I just take my hand, metaphorically take my fist, and I just knock him off my shoulder, and he falls away. And every time he tries to scramble back up and put doubt in my mind, I bash him. And I think that's really important for me anyhow. It's really important to have something imaginarily physical to do to this doubt. So I'm not just saying, oh, positive, don't have negative thoughts, because that doesn't work for me. What works for me is, well, and those of you that know me would probably understand, it's an action that is then followed by a replacement of this negativity of right. And then at that point, I'll probably swear, right, F it, get this job done. You can do this. Your horse can do it. You have no idea, actually, if either of you can, but you never do. You never know what's around the corner. But you give it your best shot. You've done what you can in the preparation. You give it your best shot. And you may, 5 minutes later, come home, the course not completed, thinking, right, devil, get back on my shoulder now. Let's discuss this. What went wrong? Why did that go wrong? Is it something much more fundamental than just me getting a bad line or having the wrong speed or the sunlight coming into my eye just as I was turning for the fence, or into my horse's eye? And that's when you can discuss it with yourself and with the devil. And he can be a very handy person to discuss things with, because he will spare you not at all. He will give it to you straight. And sometimes we need to get it straight. And we've all got friends who, I hope anyhow, because we need them, who will say, look, you can't say that. My daughter's the one who tells me I can't say that. And I think, oh, golly, maybe you're right. Maybe I can't. And not blessed with the massive amount of tact. I have to try and, what's that wonderful expression? Engage brain before open mouth. So it's all to do with the same thing. But I was brought up by a wonderful trainer from South Africa who had an extraordinarily giving, kind disposition, called Pat Burgess. And she had 5 children. She was married to an English vet who went over to South Africa and brought her back with him. And she made a wonderful life bringing up those children, tremendous involvement in the RDA because one of her children had been disabled, and tremendous involvement in training from the early levels right up to the top level. She was even involved in team training for a few years in the days when we had it at Lord and Lady Hugh Russell's at Wiley. And she is an inspiration. She was an inspiration of training across country, which there's many others that have taken over her mantle now, but she was probably the first. And she never really talked about the psychological side. To her, it was clear cut. You just did it. So I was brought up in an atmosphere of just get the job done and no faffing. And it's not all about speed either. It's about mindset. It's about determination. And I had a wonderful father who was a very sensitive man. He was a major general, a tremendous leader, landed the swimming tanks at D-Day on the beach in northern France. So very intelligent leader of a man, but with a huge depth of sensitivity too. And I can't imagine that was used very much on the landing of D-Day, because that was all about landing tanks in the face of army fire. Unbelievably brave, difficult thing for his whole battalion to do. And they succeeded extremely well. And having that underlying courage is a necessary part of riding, really, because things happen on horses that surprise you and scare you, and they spook and they slip over on the road, and it's really painful. And we all know of accidents where people have been left really badly injured through maybe, and very often, through no fault of their own. So there is this uncertainty about your own destiny and your own safety. But if you think about it, that's the same in life. You have no idea when that brick is going to fall out of that arcade above you and smash you on the head. You have no idea when a car is going to drive into you, or when you're going to have a puncture and drive off the road into a concrete wall. None of us know what's going to happen. And that, if you like it, is a mystery of life, and what keeps you able to take on challenges that you don't know the outcome. And I feel more and more in life we're shrouded by feather pillow and not allowed to experience what is the reality of life, which is danger, which is challenge. And I think probably we're all the worse for it. Hospitals might be a little less full, but I don't think anybody who knows anything about hospitals thinks there's less people getting injured and going into hospital or getting sick, because there's always a huge amount that are needing that help. And we're very lucky to have it in the National Health. But that takes us away from our devil on the shoulder. But I just want you to feel that you're not alone, that this devil is on most people's shoulders. If you get to the inside track of almost any top-class sportsman, I think you'll find they have different ways of dealing with the pressures of trying to be the best version of yourself, and trying, in our case, to help your horse be the best version of himself. And my way through those tremendous pressure nerves when you're at the high end, especially on teams, when you really didn't want to let your country down, suddenly it wasn't just your horse and your owner and yourself and your family that you were letting down. Suddenly it was your country. And that puts a whole different ball game on that. It is a whole different ball game, puts a whole different veneer on it. And the way I dealt with it, which I remember so well, our team captain, who was a brilliant rider, winner of 2 consecutive Olympic gold medals, 68 and 72 in the last century, Richard Mead, once, long after we probably finished being in teams together, he once said to me, "I don't believe you when you say you didn't go out to win, because I didn't. I couldn't handle that pressure of going out to win. The pressure I could handle was going out to do our best, to be the best version of ourselves. And I felt if we could do our best, we could conquer whatever was in front of us. If I made a slip up, a mistake, my horse would too. And as a result of my mistake, I felt the whole responsibility was mine not to make a mistake, but I wanted to do the best I could. I don't think I ever went out saying, I'm going to beat these devils, I'm going to be the best I can, but I'm going to beat everybody else. It just didn't work for my temperament. But for some, I think it really does work. I think to have that competitive spirit, I'm going to beat all these ones that have beaten me before, I'm going to get you. I think that really works for some people. And those are the sort of two ends of the scale. And there's all sorts of things in between. And bottom line, both those ends of the scale and all the bits in between are learning to deal with the pressure and the nerves that most of us have, learning to deal with the devil on your shoulder. So metaphorically, get your fist ready, knock the little devil off your shoulder when he starts giving you negative thoughts about how you really aren't ready for this challenge. Just at the time you need only to have a vacuum of negativity and an absolute beam of positivity. And Pat Burgess, my wonderful trainer throughout so much of my career, was very, very into the power of positive thought. And the opposite is so true. The power of negative thought is terrifying. So do not let those negative thoughts get into your head. Get that fist together and metaphorically bump that devil off your shoulder. And don't forget, you do it for fun. Good luck.